In the key of C major, the root note of the scale is C. This doesn't mean you have to start out on C to remain in key with the music. You can start out on any one of the 7 notes in the scale and adjust the scale pattern accordingly to still use only notes from within C major. This adjustment is called a mode. Each note of the scale has a mode that correlates directly to it, meaning that there are 7 total modes. The basic major scale pattern as you know it starts out on its root note. This is actually the first mode. It's called Ionian mode. We will expand the basic major scale by beginning on its second note. Instead of Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, Do, you will have Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, Do, Re. This is what is referred to as Dorian mode. Since D is the second note of the C major scale, this will make the name of the mode easier to remember. This video was done using standard E tuning and 440 wavelength calibration. The first note of the mode is a D note. It's located on the A string at the 5th fret. Use your first finger. The second note is a step up in pitch to the 7th fret on the same string. The third note is a half step up in pitch to the 8th fret on the same string. The fourth note is a step up in pitch, a string up in pitch to the 5th fret. The fifth note is a step up in pitch to the 7th fret on the same string. The sixth note is a step up in pitch, a string up in pitch, and notice the shift of the hand position down a half a step to the 4th fret. The 7th note is a half step up in pitch to the 5th fret on the same string. The last note is a step up in pitch to the 7th fret on the same string. This is the octave of D. So far, this is what we have. Pay very close attention to the fingering in this. Great guitar players and great bass players use all 4 fingers, so don't cheat yourself and try to limit your ability by depending on only 2 or 3 of them. Use that pinky. Okay, those are still the notes of the C major scale. What we did is, since we started out on D, the second note of the scale, we've actually shifted up a step in pitch from the C note, and the pattern of the scale, or mode as it's referred to, has been adjusted according to the new hand position. Instead of Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, Do, now we have Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, Do, Re. The notes are still the same. The only difference is we started out on the second note of the scale of D instead of the root note C. The proper way to pick this is with the use of alternate picking. It's done just like this. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. 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 Don't underestimate the value of alternate picking. If you learn alternate pick efficiently, you're going to be a much smoother guitar player with fewer wasted strokes. You'll find it easier in the long run, although initially it might be kind of clumsy. You're also going to use 8th note time value. If you didn't watch the last video, this is just a quick recap of how to count time. In standard 4/4 music, you tap your foot to the downbeats. You basically count 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, your hand follows your foot up and down. 1, 2, 3, 4. On the upbeat, You hear it 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Every time your foot comes up, that's an and beat. You pick down on the down beats and up on the and beats. Kind of like this. With a 4 count lead in. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Whenever you play any type of a scale pattern on a guitar, and you scale up in pitch to a point where you've reached a B string, you're going to have to make some adjustments to the scale pattern as you know it to compensate for the tuning of the string. Remember, the B string is tuned to B and not to C. So you're going to have to shift any notes that you play on the B string up a half a step in pitch to compensate. If the string were tuned to C, you could play the scale pattern as you know it without having to worry about it. That being said, I'll place my first finger on the 12th fret of the D string and play the Dorian mode in 1 octave as we know it. Now notice, when I got up to the B string, that all the notes were shifted up a half a step in pitch, but there wasn't any physical shifting of the hand up or down the neck. All that was done was a change of fingering. When we go down to the 7th fret on the G string, we're going to have a similar problem. We're going to shift the notes up a half a step on the B string without physically shifting the hand position. And once you get to the high E string, you'll resume the pattern as you know it. Once again, there isn't going to be any physical shifting. It'll just be a change of fingering. If you watched the last video, you're already familiar with the basic C major scale in 1 octave. If you're not familiar with the basic C major scale, or you haven't seen the last video, please go back and watch it and then return to this point. We'll start out by playing the basic C major scale, or Ionian mode, as we know it, by scaling up 1 octave. After reaching this point and pausing a moment, we're going to shift the pinky up to the 7th fret, a step in pitch, and play the Dorian mode, descending in pitch. After pausing a moment, we'll go back to the root note of C. Again, this is what we have. This time I'll do it without pausing. Finally, we'll do it with 8th note time values with a quarter note lead in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. And that's one way that you can expand the basic major scale beyond its 1 octave form to incorporate other notes on the fretboard.